Hey everybody, it's Christy here for those of you who have forgotten me during my long blogging break. I'm sure that's one, maybe two of you. But I just wanted to do a quick little video here, hopefully it'll be quick, who knows, about what has been going on the last few weeks of my blogging break and some new things that are upcoming and some book reviews for anybody who might be interested. So, first of all, I wanted to let you know of all the things that have been going on. Um, some things that have been making me very excited. A lot of home projects, which I totally love, and I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Um, well, I'll give you a brief overview, I guess. Home projects that I've been working on. I've been doing a bathroom remodel, I've been doing some furniture makeovers, and I've been doing some home projects for since the kids went back to school, and I find that that's really the best time to do a lot of these regular like home maintenance-y sort of things because the summer time with the kids and everybody is home all the time and it's me against six kids home full time and I can't keep up with it, and so it feels like the house always gets crazy and chaotic and messy in different ways and I can't do anything about it until they go back to school, and then they're gone for most of the day and I have time to do these things. So I've been doing a lot of those sorts of things. Starting to get back into the routine of school time again, which seems like it always takes like a month or so to get into a really good routine. Um, one of the projects we've been working on since I've been taking a break is my office, which I am sitting in right now. I don't know how well you can see this, so I'm going to make you dizzy here for a minute. There's the couch over there. Anyway, so I am so excited because I have this space that I got to decorate and paint and everything. You can see it's all white and gold. There's a little bit of blue over there, but um, I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I'm so excited because I have this space and it's so pretty and it's quiet and the kids are not allowed in here. Um, so I've been working really hard on that. And the other thing I've been doing a lot of over the last few weeks is reading like a maniac. I have a huge stack of books that I've been reading over the last few weeks. And I love to read, and I don't always have a lot of time for that, but I have been intentionally reading like all through the summer. I've just been reading and reading, and I have loved it. And so before I jump more into what I'm reading, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be doing some updates on Redeeming Freedom, and it's going to have a new look and it's going to have a new logo, and it'll be largely the same what I've been talking about, faith and biblical feminism and women of the Bible and all that kind of stuff. So largely still the same, but it'll have a new look, and so I'm super excited about that. And then I am also working on, and when I say I mean my husband and my son who know how to do these things. We are working on getting up a brand new website that is going to be called Reclaiming Haven. And I already have a page on Facebook, so you can go and like that if you're interested. It doesn't have anything on it yet, but so that's going to be my new website, and I'm super excited about that because that is going to be me talking about a lot of the projects that I do around the house, and so decorating and organizing, and it's not going to really so much be a DIY because who has time for that? I don't, and I don't have the patience for that. So it's not going to be so much DIY, but it's going to be sort of like, look, here's an idea that you can do, and that sort of thing. And I'm going to talk more about my family and some of the routines that we have, and just a lot of things around the house that I do because it takes some intentionality to manage a household full of 8 people and not lose your mind. And so there's some things that I do, and I thought, well, maybe other people might be interested. But also, there's going to be a page in there where it's going to be furniture updates, because years ago I started a little business. We were raising money for our adoption of our youngest daughter, and I was raising money, and I was doing a lot of getting old furniture and refurbishing it and painting and selling and whatever. And I haven't done it for a long time, but I have realized I really miss that. And so I am going to be doing a page where I'm just doing furniture redos because you know what? I like it. And I think that it's a lot of fun, and that's going to be part of that website. So that is coming soon, as soon as my little helpers get that all figured out and all the smart things that they do that I don't know how to do. So anyway, so there's that. So watch for that. I'm so excited. Okay, so I want to talk about a few of the books that I have been reading because I've been learning so much and it's awesome. So one of the last, I don't think it was the very last blog post I did, but it might have been, was sort of a random culmination of some different floating thoughts that were under my head. And one of the things that I said in that blog post for the 2 people that may have read it was that I'm in my mid-30s and I still feel like I don't have a good sense of who I am and like why do I think the way I do and why do I react to situations the way I do. And so that has been a source of frustration on some level for me for a long time. So one of the things that I've been doing as I've been doing all this reading and researching and stuff is digging into some books that are helping me learn who I am and how I'm wired and who God made me to be. And it's been actually really, really helpful and good. And I feel like I have some direction and I have some vision and some plans that I sort of had before, but it was kind of like floaty, and now they're becoming more cemented. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I have learned that have been really helpful in case it would be helpful to someone else. So the first thing that I want to say, and this maybe sounds kind of lame and dumb, but it's not. So the first thing that I did, which actually I did this a long time ago, but I didn't really, allow the knowledge to sink in and change how I did things, was to take a Myers-Briggs test, which I did forever ago, and just, like I said, didn't really allow for that to change anything about what I was doing or any of that. So if you have not ever done that, I would highly recommend going online and taking a Myers-Briggs test. And they're free in all sorts of places, but there's one that's really great. It's called 16personalities.com, and they do free tests there, and you can it's all free for the basic thing, and then you can pay if you want the I don't know what else is in there in the one that you pay for, but it's like more information. So it's 16personalities.com, and 16 is the number 16 personalities.com, and they have what's really cool is when you take it, they give you all this information of, what is this person like? How is this person in relationships? How is this person in the workforce? As a leader, as a follower, all those sorts of things. So I found that to be really, really helpful. And not only was the information itself helpful, but I started following some groups on Facebook and looking up some things on Pinterest too, so now I see all this stuff about my personality, and all these things pop up, and I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. And actually, one of the things about my particular personality is that they never quite feel like they fit in anywhere, and which, I don't know, maybe is not the case for everybody, but that has definitely been true for me. And so finding some other people who kind of have the same way of thinking has been really helpful, because I'm like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, I'm not totally crazy. I'm a little bit crazy, but not completely, at least, or maybe I am, and like there's just some other people who are the same kind of crazy, you know what I mean? So anyway, if you have never done that, I would highly recommend going to 16personalities.com, taking your test, getting that information, and and letting it change you, or letting yourself recognize that these are the things, I don't know, letting that information change how you move forward in life, and that will help you. So the second book, or the second thing I wanted to mention, is the book Quiet by Susan Cain. And it is the book, the subtitle of it is The Power of Introverts in a World That Doesn't Stop Talking. And this was an immensely helpful book for me because, my Myers-Briggs personality profile tells me that I am an introvert. And I think I've always known that, but I haven't always known what that meant as far as what my life should look like. And so the book Quiet was super helpful because every chapter was exploring the brain and the personalities and the behaviors of introverts in different sort of ways. And she really talks about, how the brain of an introvert just looks different than the one of an extrovert, and how it's so hard sometimes when you are an introvert to try to fit into a world that's very, the values being extroverted. And how do you do that, and what does that look like, and what sort of things do you need to build into your life to help you be able to live effectively. And one of the things that she said, and this is like, for anybody who's an introvert, this is like, duh. But for me, I think this was also like a duh, but it affirmed what I knew to be true, and that is that alone time is not just a suggestion, it is a necessity for living well and not feeling like you want to pull your hair out every single day. And I think I've always known that, but for some reason I was like, felt like having alone time was selfish, or I don't know, that it just wasn't an okay thing to do, or, it was a, what am I saying? That it wasn't necessarily something I had to do. It was something that I got to do sometimes if I was privileged. But now my perspective on that is that no, actually I need to have this in order to function properly. And if I don't have this, then I'm not gonna last very long, and I'm not gonna be able to be patient with my kids, and I'm not gonna be able to handle the things that life throws at me, and I'm not gonna be able to process my emotions, and I'm not gonna any of that. So if I want to not live in internal chaos all the time, I have to build in having that quiet alone time into my life. And anyway, that was an amazing book. And if you are an introvert, or if you know an introvert, or if you whatever, you should read this book, because it will help you to understand the different ways that brains work, and how important it is for some people to have their alone time, and why that is, and how they just function in the world differently. And so super, super helpful. So another book that I recently finished reading was actually recommended by somebody who had left a comment on my last blog post, and it is called A Million Little Ways by Emily P. Freeman. And this book was totally fantastic. I've read one of Emily's other books that she wrote. It was called Grace for the Good Girl, and I read that thing with a highlighter a few years back. And so I feel like Emily P. Freeman is like my spirit author. I think that's not really a thing, but it is today. So she's my spirit author, in that she says the things that I think and feel in a way that I wasn't able to express it. And I love her writing. Anyway, the basic premise of her book is that God is a creator and he's an artist. And as image bearers of him, we are also all called to be creators and to do art. And art isn't art like a painting or, in the way that we normally would think of that. But art is just whatever it is that we do that brings us alive. And we all have the responsibility of finding that thing and doing that thing because when we do the things that make us come alive, it inspires other people to come alive as well. And so I loved that book. She also talks about ways that hinder us from doing that and why it's important that we, fight through those and find whatever our art is. And that was, it was great. So totally recommend that book. And then this book, I also wanted to mention too, is called The Person Called You, Why You're Here, Why You Matter, and What You Should Do with Your Life. And as you can see, this, I'm not quite done with it. I'm maybe 2/3 of the way through. But this one, is also Bill Hendricks is the author. And I heard him on a podcast that I listened to called The Table Podcast. It's put out by Dallas Theological Seminary, and he was interviewed on that podcast. And when I was listening to it, I was like, I gotta get his book because it sounded really awesome. Anyway, I'm reading this book, and I'm not quite done, but it is also really awesome. And it actually says a lot of the same things that Emily P. Freeman says in her book. A lot of the same kind of ideas, but when Emily writes about it, hers is more flowy and arty and beautiful, and his is more logical and utilitarian. Both are great. One might be a little bit better for you depending on who you are and what you enjoy, but both are super great. And in the back of this, The Person Called You is a giftedness assessment, which I have not done yet. I started it, but it looks pretty labor intensive, so I haven't had the time to sit down and actually do it yet, but it looks really interesting. And it looks great and like it will be helpful. So those are some books that I would highly recommend. And one of the things that I wanted to mention too is that I feel like I've always had this thought in the back of my head that if I really take the time to explore, who I am, what's good about me, that there was something wrong with that in the sense of that was really selfish and self-seeking and all of that. But I've come to realize that is not true. That God has created you and he's created me with particular gifts and talents and art, as Emily would say, and he wants us to know what that is so that we can do those things. And if we don't know what that is, then we're going to spend all of this time running around not knowing really what we're doing. And sometimes we might stumble upon it. I've done that. I've had a job where I'm like, hey, I think I could probably do this. And it ended up that I loved it and I was really good at it. So sometimes we can stumble across stuff like that. But there's something to be said too about living intentionally, knowing who we are and what we're good at, and making steps in your life towards being able to use those in whatever opportunities and whatever doors open for you. So that is super important. I would recommend all these books, which is why I did the video. And so I just wanted to say, if you don't know who you are or how God made you or how you're wired or what you're good at, what your personality profile is, take some time and go and do those things, and start making some steps towards living the life that God has called you to live. And that's all. So anyway, I am super excited about all the new stuff that's coming up, and I hope that you guys are too. And I will see you in the blogosphere.